welcome back. Let's take a little look at some of the newspaper front pages, shall we? What have we got?
Yes, the Sunday Telegraph leads with the Conservatives planning to use the budget to wrong-foot Sir Keir Starmer into borrowing money in an attempt to show that the UK will go into further debt under Labour.
And we're off to the Sunday Times now. The Sunday Times leads with Sir Keir Starmer beating Rishi Sunak in a head-to-head poll with 32% backing the Labour leader.
And the Observer leads with an ex-policy chief saying that Sir Keir Starmer lacks clear sense of purpose due to his detachment from his party's traditions.
Well, the Sunday Mirror leads with a poll commissioned by the government that will ask 175,000 people what the royal family are for, that will cost nearly £2 million. Grief.
And the Sunday Express leads with the Prime Minister giving stronger signals that more tax cuts are on the way as he sets out an election pledge to build a brighter future for everyone.
Well, quite a lot to go out there. Joining us to go through some of today's headlines is showbiz reporter Stephanie Tecci and writer and journalist Andy Jones. Both of you, thank you very much. Happy New Year to you both. Stephanie, I'll start with you. Sunak holding secret talks to bring back Dominic Cummings.
With loose-lipped Dominic Cummings, who's come out about their secret meeting in which Rishi was trying to persuade Dominic to come back to the Conservatives, be a part of his dream team ahead of the elections. But Cummings says that he refused because he says that he doesn't believe that Rishi is actually convicted about what he wants to do within the government and for voters. So he said that he would rather the Tories lose than him come back to that. And I think it's quite telling of where Rishi's head is at the moment, in the sense where he's brought back people such as David Cameron. He really wants to make this supreme government, but it seems that some of his own members don't even believe in him.
So it sounds like he actually can't get Dominic Cummings back on side, even if he wanted him.
He can't, and to be honest, I don't know why he would want him back on side. You know, he's quite a divisive character. Now, if you're trying to win the trust of voters, you want to get characters that people believe have integrity and not people who's left a bit of a sore taste in people's mouths, in that sense.
Yes, and he certainly has a way with words, doesn't he, of Dominic Cummings?
Yeah, blunt and to the point, but another man who has a way with words is wonderful, Andy Jones. Andy, you've highlighted a story here in the Mail, which is 8 people have been arrested. There was a demonstration in London, wasn't there?
Yeah, well, we talk about peaceful protests. It doesn't seem that there's many peaceful protests at the moment. We obviously had the Palestine protests that have been going on, and perhaps other groups have felt emboldened to act as well. This was an incident in Camberwell. Obviously, Boris Johnson and Carrie Johnson live in Camberwell a huge amount of time. This is an area of sort of different, varying backgrounds as well. There was an Eritrean march to support the Eritrean government. What this has got to do with the people of Camberwell, we don't know. Whether a rival Eritrean group who were very much against the Eritrean government turned up and caused mayhem. And there's obviously there's a lot of video footage of this. I don't know if we've got that to hand, of, you know, police officers being attacked, local businesses being destroyed. This turned nasty very, very quickly. 8 people arrested, violent disorder, criminal damage, possession of an offensive weapon, showing that these people turned up with menace in mind, and assault on emergency workers. 4 police officers injured. And we're struggling to get police officers in this country. And you're turning up at a time when you think that it's going to be fairly peaceful, and immediately you're getting rung up saying, hang on a minute, we've got a riot that we weren't expecting to happen in Camberwell.
And you'll get a bit of context. Camberwell is in south-east London, near where's it near? It's near Peckham, near
Elephant and Castle.
It's
not far from London Bridge.
A lot of people were saying, look, you know, again, if this is a kind of issue that has stemmed from abroad, that is now coming out and spilling out on the streets of Bristol, you were alluding to that. You know, what's it got to do with us, I suppose? But, you know, it is one of those things, the police there essentially being attacked by sticks.
It's just, you know, it's really annoying, Patrick, because I'm all up for protesting. I believe in freedom of speech. It's something I'm passionate about. But I just think if you're protesting, why does it need to get to the point where you bring violence? Because it totally puts people off what you're trying to, the message you're trying to get across. And it just thinks, what is the point of bringing violence to something that you want to protest about?
Absolutely. The other point I'll make quickly, I know we've got other things to get through, is these people turned up with sticks. They were ready for violence. And also, we've been so puny about previous protests. We've seen people climbing on the cenotaph for violence, Met Police talking about gentle jihad, and jihad isn't necessarily about violence. And then you see these gangs who are already emboldened by this. If you crack down and you're intolerant of intolerance in the first instance, this stuff is less likely to happen.
Oh, I agree.
Very good. Now, Stephanie, I'm quite interested by this in the Sunday Mirror. The government ordering a massive survey asking 175,000 people what the royal family is for.
Yeah, and
What's
they're
that
paying
about?
1.75 million for this survey just to get... It's almost like a royal branding. They want to ask these people to find out their views on the royal family, see how relevant they are today, and their answers are going to be sent back to senior royals. And the incentive for people to get involved with this is they will get a £10 voucher, Patrick, to take part in this survey. And I think it's such an appalling use of our money to help the royals figure out how they are looking within the public. If that's the case, they need to go and mingle with the everyday Tom and find out his opinion and not use 1.75 million of our money. The answers won't come out till next summer. So we're all going to be having to hang tight until we find out what the survey is about.
Really does think the royal family should care, hear me out on this, a little bit less about what the average man and woman thinks on the street and just do what they think is the right thing. Do they need to have their ear bent by a load of people? I don't know.
The point I'd make, and we all know this in the media when we get these surveys sent to us every day, is the only people that are going to apply to take part in these surveys are people who've already got strong opinions. So they're going to be, I hate the royal family, get rid of them, off with their heads, or I absolutely love them, keep what he's doing. And I wonder the merit of this. And exactly as you say, we need a confident royal family that just go out and bat for Britain. Go out, shake hands, meet the public, open hospitals. That's what we want them doing.
Households from across the country are being randomly selected, but I guess they don't have to say yes.
You can't go. You've got to have this £10 voucher or else. Give us your opinion on King Charles.
Take the voucher now. You've got to have it.
What's your opinion?
There's a sign of the cost of living crisis.
I just think, you know, the royals have had such a controversial year that they're trying to do damage control now. I think going forward, they just want to stay out of any trouble and they just want to gauge where the public is at when it comes to...
The other thing I'd say is the royal family are damned if they do and damned if they don't. If they don't ask the public, it's like, well, how dare you, you're so ignorant of us. But this is, I suppose, it's an expensive tick-boxing exercise to say, look, we have actually asked the public's opinion.
They care.
They do care. It's commendable. Like we said, they can't really win either way, can they? Keir Starmer attempting to avoid doing TV debates, or his team trying to make him avoid doing the TV debates. Andy, what do you make of this, do you think?
I think they should be... You can't possibly say that you're the answer to however many years, 13 years of Tory mismanagement, and then say, oh, you're not going to debate or you're not going to come out publicly. I think political leaders, if you're serious about running the country, your ideas have to be held up and accountable and examined under the public microscope. It's no good saying, oh, well, we debate in the House of Commons every day. Most people are at work, they're not watching House of Commons debates every day. They should be out in front of the nation, putting their beliefs under the microscope.
Yeah, I suppose the argument...
Well, yes, I guess one of his aides said, what does he have to gain from doing it? Because he's in such a good position now in the polls. What does he have to gain politically?
I think it's actually convincing people that he is the right leader for this country. I think people are very on the fence when it comes to Keir Starmer because you don't understand what is he really passionate about, who is he as a man, like who is Keir Starmer? Like he pops up on our screens all the time where I feel like a TV debate is when you really can see someone's character and see their mannerisms, and I think that's how he's going to get people on side. So him avoiding that, I think that'll be very much to his detriment.
It's interesting you say that about people not knowing who he is, because that's exactly on the front page of the Observer. Ex-policy chief says Starmer lacks clear sense of purpose. People don't know what he's about. He's detached from Labour traditions. So there you go.
And that's what Rishi's got. You know, love or hate him, you know what he's about.
But we had this with the last leadership debates of the last election. You know, Boris Johnson wasn't necessarily applied to a different debates, and it was almost Jeremy Corbyn arguing unsuccessfully with himself. And I sort of think, well, this is the state of democracy. We had this position where all the same old faces have been invited back in. Dominic Cummings has supposedly been invited back in. And there's a lack of talent, and also there's a lack of accountability and visibility of what these people
I
believe.
just think it's absolutely shocking that you have people who want to stand for election, who aren't desperate to get in front of the cameras, they're desperate to sell themselves,
Very true.
and political advisors who clearly read between the lines saying, flipping it, the more people see this guy, the less likely they are to vote for him.
It's better to hide him away.
It's a damning indictment, isn't it, of where we are politically. I think we've just got time for one more, Andy. I'll go to you on this one first, which is a story I know is going to get a lot of our viewers and listeners going. An ISIS fanatic who snuck into Britain illegally has obviously been given citizenship because we have to look after his human rights.
Yeah, just the dispassionate description of the facts is incredible here. He entered the country illegally 18 years ago, 2006.
Right.
He's been found spreading jihadi ISIS material in Sudan and potentially here. He was stripped of citizenship and kicked out in 2018.
Right.
He then came... That was because of his terror threat in 2018.
Yeah.
He's since bounced backwards and forwards from here to Sudan, so there's obviously no risk to his life. Yet in 2023, this month, he's been able to successfully argue that he's at risk of torture and abuse if he goes back to Sudan. Well, he's already been going back to Sudan fairly recently, so that's clearly not apparent. And also, if you look at what's going on in Sudan, there are Islamic fundamentalist groups running around that country killing people en masse. And so it's a little bit like, well, he says he's at the risk of torture and violence. Well, one, he's going back to Sudan often. Two, he's been kicked out of here previously for this. And I will tell you, as someone who's written about MI5 previously, they don't flag up these guys willy-nilly. They don't just go, oh, well, he once went to a mosque with somebody who met somebody. These are serious, credible threats.
Why?
And we have been let down by our judiciary.
Why on earth are we providing sanctuary to someone like this?
I don't
seriously.
understand why they turn a blind eye to it. It's like shooting ourselves in the foot. It's like they're almost waiting for something very horrific to happen, and then we hear this backstory, and any member of the public will say, why have we given him citizenship? Does that make sense at all? So rather the government spending this 1.75 million on a royal survey, they should be handling things like this.
And how many police officers or security officials are going to have to watch this clown and sit outside watching him when they're not, instead of, solving crimes that matter to the general public? And again, this guy's, if he's really at risk of torture, really at risk of violence, why is he going backwards and forwards to Sudan?
Well, quite. I mean, there's quite a lot of evidence there to suggest that, well, I mean, the mind boggles, doesn't it, really?
Get the emails coming in. gbviews@gbnews.com. Make sure that you hear them. Look, thank you very much, both of you. A rip-roaring start to Headline Makers today with Andy Jones and Stephanie Tachi. So, Craig Snell actually has your weather for you now. A little update for you. Is it going to be chilly out? Is all the transport links going to be working? I suspect not.